Hello, fellow readers and booktubers. We're just very close to the end of 2024, and here in Chicago, the days have been very gloomy, and I was thinking of a farewell to 2024 post I could put on BookTube, and I had a couple of ideas, but I was looking for something a little lighter and a little humorous, and then all of a sudden, I hear that Big Al Does Books put up a challenge called the Beefcake Challenge, which was so silly and absurd sounding that I had to look into it. And then, of course, I got tagged by the usual suspects, chief among them, Pat at Book Chat with Pat. And so I thought I would take this Beefcake Challenge. The general idea here is to talk about the big books we plan on reading in 2025. And when I say big books, I mean big, thick, beefcake-sized books. And so I thought I would go through this and accept these prompts. I'm going to take the prompts a little bit out of order, just the way I've kind of decided to address this issue. So at any rate, the first prompt I'm gonna keep as the first one. What are the 10 biggest books on your TBR for the next year? And so here they are. First of all, talking about a beefcake of a book, James Boswell's Life of Samuel Johnson, a great literary masterpiece of 18th century English. There's a thick book. There's a doorstop of a book. It certainly qualifies for a beefcake. The other one, and then, of course, the complete stories of Flannery OConnor. I've mentioned this book before. Might have been on a TBR list, and I just didn't get to it this year. But again, a nice thick book. I've read some of these stories before. Flannery OConnor is just a great short story writer. Then, I think the penultimate beefcake book of all beefcake books, Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace. I love the Russian authors. Tolstoy, this is his masterwork. I have never read it, and I think it's about time that I do. So let's get this one. Then, a book that I mentioned a few posts back. This was a gift that was given to me by some very good friends of mine for my birthday. How the World Made the West, a 4,000-year history by Josephine Quinn. Okay. Pretty thick book there. And then another book that's often reckoned among the beefcake books, Moby Dick. And with this one by Melville, I'm getting into a few books, my rereads of the year. The next three books I'm going to mention, starting with Moby Dick, are books that I've been intending to reread for a while now. And I've read them all more than once, more than twice, more than three times. Of course, more than once. But these are the bigger, heavy-duty books. So Moby Dick, it's time for another reading. Always one of my favorites. And then we've got, of course, the novel that some regard as the greatest novel ever written, Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov. This is a book I've been planning to reread now for a couple of years, and now this certainly meets the Beefcake Challenge. Okay. And then Charles Dickens. Any Charles Dickens book, I think, would pretty much meet the criteria for this challenge. My favorite Dickens book is David Copperfield, and I haven't read that in a while. I was going to go back to that, but instead, I thought I would reread Bleak House. This book, I've only read it a couple of times before. Typical Dickens, rich characters, fascinating story. What I remember most about this, and I don't want to, no spoilers here, but let's just say one of the characters dies rather suddenly, unexpectedly, about halfway through the book under unusual circumstances. And so I haven't read this in quite a while, so I think it'd be kind of fun to reread that moment in this book, but then, of course, the entire book. So anyway, Bleak House. And then another book. This has been on my TBR for a while, but I'm definitely going to read it in 2025. All the King's Men, Robert Penn Warren's book about American politics. Another good beefcake-sized book. And then 2025 is when I begin when I officially begin my Roman Emperors book challenge. I've posted about this. I got a lot of response. What I'm going to be doing beginning next year, which is just a week from now, I'm going to start reading biographies of the Roman emperors, the Roman emperors of the first 2 centuries. And of course, that begins with Augustus. Now, when I first posted about the Roman Emperor's Reading Challenge, I recommended this book about Augustus by Anthony Everett, and I still stand by this, and I am going to read it. But also, I'm going to read another biography of Augustus by Adrian Goldsworthy, another great historian. And so I'm going to have these two books on Augustus, and taken together, certainly beefcake material. So those are my my big books. We mean this literally, big books for 2025. And then I'll get to the second prompt in a second. Jumping to the third prompt. Do you think you can read them all? Yes. And in fact, I think anyone on BookTube could read all these books, as thick as they are. And there are 10 of them. And I worked it out like this. The average length of a book today, fiction or nonfiction, is somewhere between 300 and 350 pages. So let's take the mean of that, of 325, all right? So what you do with this, the books I've mentioned here, on average, again, on average, each book is about 600 pages. Boswell's Life of Johnson is about 1,200 pages. So 600 times 9 of the 10 books, comes to 5,400 pages. Then add 1,200 for Boswell, you've got almost an even 6,600 pages. Now this is on average. I'm rounding everything off. So then, if the typical book is about 325 pages, and you take the total 6,600 pages divided by 325, that means these 10 books are roughly equal to 20 books of regular size. Can you read 20 books in a year? Absolutely. Who couldn't? And if you just read one book a week, you'd finish 20 books somewhere around the end of May. So there's some higher math for you. I think I got all that right. So anyway, can I read all these? Of course I can, and of course you can as well. So absolutely doable for the Beefcake Challenge. Now, of course, there's going to be other books as the year progresses, and I'll be reading about the Roman emperors, and there's tons of other books. New books will be popping up all the time. But generally speaking, if I just focus on the Beefcake Challenge, I can have this done about the middle of May. And I'll let you know if I get there. And then, how thick are your books? Measure them. So I'm going to stack them up and pull out the ruler, and I'll measure them for you right now. So there you are, my friends. That's about a foot and a half of books. Not in the particular order that I'm going to read them in, but there's All King's Men at the very top and Bleak House at the very bottom. About a foot and a half. What was not asked for on the prompts is how much do these books weigh? See if I get my scale to cooperate. We got roughly almost 22 pounds worth of books. And the final prompt is, do you even lift books, bro? Of course I can lift these books. There you go. I should mention that I did do a practice lift before filming that, and I dropped the books on my fingertip, and it really hurt. But what's to be expected from this most physical of BookTube challenges? So there's my Beefcake Challenge, looking to 2025. And I'll be talking, I'm winded from this, not really. So Happy New Year, everybody, and I'll be talking to you all soon.